this is what we've got now. We've stitched all the way around the heart except for where we've put the markings. We've left a little bit of extra when we've cut around, but otherwise we've cut in pretty close. You can also put a little snip into the top of the heart there. It's a bit hard because we've got our ribbon there as well, and that just helps us when we turn it out to turn the corners out. Also at the bottom, the peak of the heart, you can just cut the end off there, and now you can go to the hole and turn it out the right way. Just gently turning a little bit at a time. Mind that pin. Remember we had that pin to hold the loop closed. Now don't go pricking yourself on that. We can take that out now. And gently push out all the little bits of your heart, all the seams. With your fingers, just run around until it's heart-shaped. Now we'll take this to the ironing board and we'll give it a little press, and then we can start to stuff it. When I pressed my heart, I also pressed in the raw edges where we had our turning hole. So that's just a handy thing to do. In fact, you really need to do that before you start stuffing, so that they're going to sit on the inside and it'll be easier for you to hand sew it together. So what you stuff with is up to you. I'm just going to use this cheap old polyfill, which is nice and light and bouncy. You could use clean wool. You could even use thrums. A lot of people use up their thrums that way, so see what you've got lying around and use that. So we're just going to start to stuff, and it's really up to you how much you stuff them. You might want something that's really tightly stuffed. You might want something that's loosely stuffed. But the good thing about using these kinds of stuffing is you just break off little pieces and keep shoving them in, and you get the look that you want. And if it's not the look you want, you take a little bit out. That's really up to you. Just keep stuffing in with your fingers. Go to all the different parts of the heart so that you try and get it fairly even. And especially in the corners and the point of the heart and that sort of thing, you want to push in with your fingers. I'm almost happy with mine, but I just want a little bit more stuffing up the top there. So this stuffing does sort of flatten out over time as well, so if it seems like you have used too much, you probably haven't, because it'll get, you know, it'll go flatter. But you definitely don't want to put so much in that you can't sew your hole closed. That's how you will know that you have too much in there. Okay, so I think that's looking about right for me. So going to my hole and returning those pieces under, I'm going to then pin those to hold the edges together to assist me while I'm hand sewing them together. This hand sewing thing doesn't need to be a big deal. It's just a needle and thread, and even if you make a bit of a mess of it, you can't really see it that much. Just a couple of pins in there to hold it closed, so you don't have it all bunching up and stuff when you're trying to make the stitches together. just like that. And then you need a sewing needle and some nice strong thread. I'm using a doubled thread, and I'm using a good quality sewing thread because they're much less likely to break. So starting at one end, this is my hole, my slit running all the way along here. It's looking wonky at the moment, but it'll straighten up in a minute. And I'm going to go in at one end of the hole, pull that through, tuck any of the threads in that have gone under. Okay, I'm on that side. Now I'm going to go in with a small stitch on this side, like so. Pull that through, and then I'm going to go back to the other side and do the same thing. This is sort of a ladder stitch, and it kind of squeezes the two pieces together by having the threads on either side. You can see why it's called a ladder stitch, because the threads are going horizontally. And I've sort of found this to be one of the neatest. Any loose threads that you find as you go along, just poke them in with the needle. Now, I'll just make a double knot. Didn't quite get it there. Okay, I've got a double knot there, and I am just going to sink that back into the seam and pull it through the work, and then it becomes invisible. There we go, it's popped through, and then just cut close to the work and then we're done. So that's our ornament number 1, and I have 2 more for us to